I think this could be very fascinating because, Scott, you never do anything in the serious realm. I don't really do anything in the serious realm, though I watch the news and I do all that. And right now, Allison, who's also a lawyer, represented Jason Patric.
I actually didn't. I went there as an activist.
As an activist.
No, I was. And I tell you, it got a little crazy because they're like, well, say you're a journalist and a feminist. And I go, and a juggler. I mean, it was becoming, I was supposed to introduce myself, and I got all kind of anxious right before
Hollywood. Give us the log line of the Jason Patric story.
I heard something about it, but I don't know anything about it.
This is crazy.
Tell me
I learned a lot about it from her show, and then I watched the Katie Couric interview in full, and I learned a lot about it. It's crazy. So go ahead.
It's actually disgusting, and we actually were up in Sacramento talking to the Judicial Committee of the State Assembly, which, if you actually saw it in person, would terrify you. It is. I mean, it would upset you as it did me. It would frighten you. These are the people we elected, and while we're talking, and I'll tell you what's going on. Jason Patric had a baby with a woman named Danielle Schreiber. They were together on and off for like 10 to 12 years. And while they were together, they tried making a baby the regular way. It wasn't working. They broke up. They started to put a lot of pressure on the relationship. Then they tried some form of IVF. That didn't work. And finally, they got to IVF. So they had a baby through IVF. And before they actually did the procedure, he wrote some letter to her, which is sort of like, I'm afraid of being a dad. Let's not keep it a secret if we do it. You can just have the baby without me, totally petrified. It sort of kind of happens to most dads, actually. Right before you're deciding if that's what you want to do, there's a lot of, I guess,
Sure, there's always emotions when you're making big decisions.
So, but this letter comes back to haunt him. Anyway, so they have the baby. Through IVF, the baby is born, and he is raising this baby with this woman. And
how old is his child?
Now 3.
3,
okay,
right?
So he raises the baby with the woman, Danielle, for 2.5 years. At 2.5 years, he tells her it's really not working between them, and he wants to break up, which is basically, I'm not going to marry you, which seems to really upset her when I say this.
But they were together for 2.5 years.
They were together for almost 10
No,
to 12
but
years.
As far as the baby was alive,
yes.
2.5 years, and he was there all the time.
Not all the time when he wasn't working.
Sure,
and by the way, her lawyer actually said, being a father requires that you be in town and not be off places acting.
So no actors have children?
Oh. Scott, you're fucked.
I know. No, here's the issue, is that it was 2 unmarried people using IVF. There is a statute in California that under that statute you need to have a writing to show that you are the father.
Because he doesn't have any DNA claim to the child, in other words.
No, he does have a DNA claim. It's his biological child. He doesn't have a writing.
Yeah, this is what's screwed up about
what
it.
He did have is he went to the sperm donor place to do the procedure with her, and this is where the whole sperm donor headline came from, TMZ.
I know.
But anyway,
Great
he went
TMZ.
to the clinic like 2 unmarried people do all the time to have this child have the procedure. He signed forms that said intended parent. He wrote Jason Patric. If he dies, then she would get the right to the sperm and the egg. If he dies, if she dies, then he gets it. It was like they signed all the forms, intended parent, like 20 forms, all witnessed, notarized.
This may be a weird question, but what is sperm? Can you explain that?
You know what? I'm gonna do. I'll try it
Is
out
it
on
the
you
white
when I
pea
tell my
that comes
children.
out of my
It
my
is the
little
white
tiny
pea.
hole?
It's the white pea.
It's the thing that men apparently. This is what we actually. What they're arguing. It's the thing men give as a parting gift.
Oh yes. Oh, it's that stuff that ladies like to swallow. Oh, okay, I get it now.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
I'm on board.
All right. So anyway, what happens is this happens 2.5 years. He's the father. He's paying for preschool. He's there all the time.
The kid's calling him Dada.
The dad's calling him Dada. The kid's calling him Dada. He's got 1 million videos, audio. Everything that you would have as a parent. She decides that when he doesn't want to marry her and doesn't want to make it a permanent thing, she decides to terminate any rights, any custody that he has. He doesn't get to see the kid. So they go to court to a mediator to try to decide who's going to get custody. And while they're doing the mediation, they talk about child support, so forth and so on. Then the next thing he knows, she gets a new lawyer who's calling him a sperm donor. And under this statute, and a loophole and a problem in the statute, it says that you need a writing. And a judge rules in his case that the intended parent forms he doesn't believe constitute a writing, and he actually felt that this wasn't in the best interest of the children, but he's bound by the statute. And that's how we ended up in Sacramento, trying to talk to lawmakers who, by the way, it was Jason Patric. There's about 5 or 6 other men who have come forth, but only Jason and this other gentleman, Daniel Correa, wanted to testify because they're all afraid of losing even more custody. So we go up.
Because Jason has no custody,
he
right?
hasn't
At
seen
all.
his
0.
kid in
24 weeks, right?
6 months.
6
months. I mean, every time. I mean,
yeah.
let
24
me
weeks.
24 weeks.
I'm
there
good.
you go.
I like bigger numbers.
26
It sounds better.
when you're
You're a lawyer, Allison. You should know 24 weeks sounds way worse than 6 months.
Let me just tell you, it's math.
They're
I'm
like,
out.
that's a lot of weeks.
I'm out when it's math.
161 days.
Yeah, there you go. You should be a lawyer.
So anyway, so we go up to Sacramento, and while this other gentleman, and Daniel Correa, was talking about his kid, about how he was the dad, about how he was, there at the birth. He's on the birth certificate, this other man.
Oh.
He paid for everything. And then the woman that he had the baby with, the lesbian, meets another woman, and she decides that he's going to get 6 hours a month. And he's got a stack of cards from his kid. And I'm trying not to cry while he's talking. And the legislators are all laughing in the Judicial Assembly. There's people talking. They're looking around. They're winking at each other. They're talking about, like, where they're going to have lunch. What time is it? I mean, we're talking about somebody who hasn't seen his kid. Jason gives an impassioned plea. They basically treated us, with the exception of 2 of the members, like absolute shit. I mean, I have never seen anything more disgusting, including, by the way, I'll just give a shout out, the assemblyman from Santa Monica. His name is, he's an Assemblyman Bloom, Richard Bloom. Jason went to meet with him, and he even refused to speak to him. And that's his district. Okay, so all of you out in Santa Monica,
You wanted to avoid it completely.
Let me tell you something. If you actually think your constituent who elected this guy, the fact that he wouldn't even meet with a constituent and show the courtesy of meeting with a constituent is enough for me to make sure to vote him out next time. Because what a damn asshole he was.
Yeah.
So anyway, so what ended up happening is they decided to table it because they need to think about it some more because it's too complicated for them. And by the way, it was the senator who authored the original bill that had the bad loophole in it that was poorly written who came forward with another bill, SB 115.
And didn't he say he didn't like the loophole, right? The guy that wrote the
own
bill.
He was horrified. He was horrified that it was being interpreted this way. It was an unintended interpretation of the bill. So
I don't understand how you can lose that case. It's like everything's stacked in your favor, you would think, right? And honesty.
You know what? They didn't care. I watched Halle Berry and Jennifer Gardner talking about paparazzi and how their children are being harassed, and they cried and put on probably like a B-list performance, I would have to say. So they're crying. We're sitting here. Jason
This was on the same day that you did?
It was a nightmare.
We missed out yesterday.
I know.
What was I doing? I should have been in Sacramento. I should have stayed at Carnahan's and gone to the Supreme Court all day.
You should have been in Sacramento, eating sort of greasy sliders.
Oh, they probably had disgusting like hot dogs. Was it like Law and Order where they got the little hot dog thing out front? And oh, that's the best.
No, let me tell you something. I thought that we might have been better if we'd passed that food before we spoke. But anyway, cheeseburgers for everybody because it was.
So they were way more than that, like Halle and Jennifer Gardner doing their thing.
They were all over them. It was sort of like, I mean, seriously.
Isn't Halle moving to France anyways?
Well, she's trying to get rid of her,
You
father
pronounce
of her
it Halle?
Is it Halle? Am I doing it wrong?
Yeah.
How do you do it?
I would say Halle, but just
Halle?
because that's her
I
name.
don't think Halle's right, is it?
Halle Berry?
I think it's Halle Berry.
You say
No?
Halle?
No, it's Halle.
Is it Halle?
Halle.
Halle? Yeah. Do I do it? I can't
She's
say
not
anyone's
French,
name
you
right
know.
ever.
What is my
I think
name?
she's moving to France, so we're
No,
changing
she's-
it.
Okay.
She's-
Halle.
Halle.
She's trying actually to take her child out of the country because of the paparazzi, but it's really because she's in an ugly custody dispute with her first.
Right.
But with the boyfriend who's the father of the first kid.
Yeah.
So I actually mentioned while I was up there, by the way, Halle conceived the
Halle
child
Berry,
she was
whatever.
carrying while she was up there through IVF. So I wanted to give her partner a heads up that he doesn't have any rights, just in case he doesn't know.
Wow.
So
Did he?
Well, that's good
Did
news
you
to
tell him
some.
that?
I
or-
said it in the hearing.
Oh, okay.
I thought somebody should know just so we could make it clear that while you're busy giving Halle Berry a lap dance, assembly leader, actually call him a chairman.
Figuratively.
Yeah.
Figurative lap dance.
Anyway, it was.
Assembly leaders aren't actually giving lap dances.
I have to tell you
This
something.
sounds like
it
a
really.
sexy assembly.
I know. We missed out on
They're
a
ordering
good time.
lunch. They're winking at each other, apparently.
Okay, I think we need to bring up a picture of some of the assembly members for you to really understand what I'm talking about here.
I'm just going to imagine it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
why don't you just imagine it? Imagine like sort of like a gathering at Disneyland, and then
It
you'll get a
probably-
sense of what I'm talking about.
If I cast them in my head, they'll be better looking. I don't know if I want to see them and then imagine.
me
You're the
just-
guy concerned with men's bodies.
Yeah,
over
right,
here.
right. I'm
no,
very
you don't.
concerned.
You don't want to see this.
I'm sure I
but,
don't.
But let me tell you something. When I was sitting there, I saw that they were talking about dads and the importance of fathers, and it didn't resonate at all. And frankly, all those people, this is the thing that really bugged me about it, is that most of a big push for equality marriage, for equality for different kinds of families, that comes from us down here.
Yeah.
And we come up there talking about a different kind of a family unit. This is like an unmarried family unit.
Yeah.
And we're getting all this crap from them after all. And we got it from a lot of the lesbians that were up there. It was just total bullshit. And the fact that these were my people. I mean, feminists.
Yeah, you're a feminist.
Yeah,
Can
they were
you-
feminists. They were, the now. I can't even tell you how much money I've given to like Planned Parenthood. And my brother's on the board of Planned Parenthood. It's just,
Can you describe these lesbians?
it's not going to be what you were hoping
Oh,
for.
all
I'm
right.
sorry. It is not going to be even close. And by the way, I really do think that lipstick lesbian thing is an urban myth.
Really?
Come
Haven't
on. There's
seen it.
some. There's got to be.
There's Ellen.
Right? Ellen's not that
And
hot.
Portia.
Ellen's not that hot.
Okay, how about
if
Portia?
that's lipstick lesbian, we're in trouble
Portia.
on the
Portia
lesbian
de Rossi.
front.
That's it.
Yeah, she's okay.
Let me tell you something. There is a shortage in that area. I mean,
Yeah,
seriously.
we need to bulk that up. I'm with you on this.
I used to live in Sacramento, and it was a very liberal town. It seemed like. Are you
Right?
saying that it?
Are you kidding me?
No,
It seemed like it. I mean,
they got weed.
I was there.
That's not liberal.
I was there in an election
Chicago
year.
It is. We're like, ooh, liberal.
You know something? The legislature was the people that we generally, as on the left, I'm speaking about myself, I guess, on the left generally support. And instead of being sympathetic, and I mean, I even read a letter from Professor Irwin. It's part of a letter from Professor Irwin Chemerinsky, who worked really hard for marriage equality, and generally is one of the foremost constitutional scholars in the country. They just ignored it. I mean, and I actually talked to Irwin on the phone when I got back. I mean, I did talk, and I emailed him, and I had to apologize for sending crazy emails yesterday.
Do you think that this might have had anything to do with their upset about Speed 2?
That's pretty good. That's solid.
I don't know why anybody would be upset with Speed 2 after Speed 1. That's my
You
feeling
didn't like
on that.
Speed 1 either?
No. I'm
See,
not.
this is maybe your problem. If you hadn't have gone up there and said, by the way, I don't like Speed 1, people might have listened to you.
Let me tell
That's
you
an
something.
unpopular opinion.
They're busy sitting there going, this is not... They actually went out of their way to say they don't care about the fact that Jason Patric's involved in this. And I was like, every major piece of legislation centers around a test case.
Yeah.
And the fact that they went out of their way to, like, slight him and be rude to him and, like, let us know pretty much down here in Hollywood, who funds all of those people, what they think of us. I just think everybody should know.
Well, nobody likes Hollywood outside of Hollywood. No.
These are the people we're paying for. These are the people whose rights we fought for.
That's true.
Okay, so there's
still hate
equality
us.
for lesbians, there's equality for gays, there's supposed to be equality marriage, and there should be some equality between fathers and mothers.
No, I agree. It's bullshit.
Do you think, and I was thinking about this the other day,
Just a
don't
tiny
you
bit.
think gay applies to lesbians? People
No.
say gays
I
and then they
thought
say
that, too.
lesbians. I thought it was just gay
not.
meant
No.
lesbian is
I learned this
gay is
the hard-
exclusively for men.
I
Well,
learned
not
this
really.
the hard
Now, when
way
you talk of-
in a course in college. I learned this the hard way in a gender studies course.
Yeah.
I referred to. I asked the same exact question you did. Maybe a
Were you
little-
treated like me?
Yes.
Scoffed at?
Yes, I was. Well, I was like one of the only guys in the class, and I was looked at like a pariah. It was bad. It was like. They explained the whole LGBT thing to me. Everything
Okay.
got spelt out for me. But no,
No,
lesbian.
you know, they're
I'm
separate.
lesbians.
But when you talk about gay rights, you
Yeah.
are including lesbians and
Well,
transgenders.
I'm sorry if I'm being naive or asking a question that I should know the answer
no,
to.
you're
but
just
I,
being straight.
but I'd always just
Yeah.
assumed that gay meant men and women. But I stand corrected.
No, I
I
was
just-
with you on that. I was confused.
Well, I mean, it is. But if you're going to talk about gay rights and marriage equality, it's going to be gay. But if you're going to get down to the nitty gritty here, and this bill, I mean, there was a lesbian who came up very strongly, who was an assistant at the assembly against it there was a lot of fake
against what?
Against the bill, the revise of the bill.
Oh, okay.
There was a lot of fake crap flying around
because they don't want the sperm donors involved in the child's life at all.
They're all concerned. Let me just give you the scenario. All the men who are sperm donors are going to come out of hiding and try to pay for college and for school for all the kids that they fathered.
Yeah,
you know how that's going to happen.
That's what's nuts about this. This woman saying, I don't want your money. I don't stop paying for your kid, Jason.
That's right.
Like he's paying for the kid.
I'm just going to play devil's advocate here, though. What if there's some weird, sick twist out there who gets off on donating sperm because he then is like fantasizing about all the kids that he's going to have, and then he goes out and tries to have custody of them all.
I think that's a John Stamos episode of Law and Order SVU. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah, it is.
He plays a guy that puts holes in condoms so women have kids, and then he claims custody of them.
Okay, here's the thing. You have
Scott Aukerman should write for Law and Order.
The idea of the writing is that you need to have held the child out as your own and parented that child for a period of time to show that you're the father. It's not somebody who just comes into that person's life. It's not a biological connection that we were talking about here. It's that Jason was that child's father. He took his son Gus to school.
So is it a combination of both the sperm donation and the rearing of the child? You need both of them?
It wasn't sperm donation.
But you know what I'm saying.
I mean, this is the problem. This is what they were saying.
What I'm trying to say is
Don't make me hit
if
you
you
with
have
this
only one of the other, you can't just raise a kid and have custody, and you can't just be a sperm donor and have custody.
Point.
You need to have both.
If you
is that
have
what
a
you're
biological child with your loved one through IVF,
or even someone you're not fond of,
exactly,
right.
then and you raise that, if you just had that child and you declined all your rights. The fact is that he signed rights. It just wasn't deemed to be sufficient under the law. He signed documents saying intended
and he thought he was signing them, and they were sufficient under the law.
That's what he thought.
So,
right.
Yeah.
And the screwed up part of it is if she didn't have problems birthing children and Jason just knocked her up in a bar, this wouldn't even be an
That's
issue
exactly
at all.
right.
Right.
And
you think he should have had sex with her in a bar?
In the bar. That's why Montaigne has the bathrooms outside. That's what they're for. Not in the restaurant, but outside.
I'll tell you something. This woman, as far as I'm concerned, should rip up her mother card, because basically she took a man that this kid saw as his father and made him disappear, and now you've got a 3-year-old kid wondering where his dad is, and she's fine with that.
Is she going to hit him up for money?
No.
Okay.
No, she wants him gone. She threw him away. She decided it's her kid now. That's the problem.
Yeah.
You can't, you make a baby with somebody. I know you can grow to hate whoever you made the kid with,
sure.
but that's too bad.
50% of the divorced couples out here, yes.
I know exactly.
Yeah, right.
But there's no law here that this is a mistake in the law, and the guy that wrote it says it's a mistake in the law, and that's the problem. And we should care about it, because most people now aren't getting married. They don't want to get married, and this IVF thing, super common. I mean,
so in wrapping up the issue, though, what is Jason's future in this case?
Well, he has an appeal pending. It could be a year before
Right.
that appeal is heard.
Sure.
And they have
12
said
months.
That
52
12 months.
365 days.
And here's the thing that really bugged me about that. They didn't seem to understand. This wasn't about getting new sidewalks or new transportation. This is about a man and his child, and every day. God damn it! Every day.
So you would have hoped they would have allowed him at least temporary. Okay, yeah,
custody,
go ahead and temporary custody while we figure this out.
Well, they were doing that at one point too, right?
The judge felt bound by the law. The law needs to be fixed. Yeah. That's the situation. He's caught in this hideous, kind of
catch-22.
Yeah, I mean, and sort of some sort of crazy-esque, Kafka-esque situation where he doesn't get to see his kids. So basically, he's waiting, and we have to go back. He will get another chance probably in January, maybe, to argue for the bill again. And next time, we're bringing other people with us, because they got to know that we down here actually matter. We're the people that elected a lot of those people. We're the people that pay their salaries, and the way they treated us. I mean, I've never been in an experience like that. I talk, I'll be on national television and nothing. I feel perfectly fine. But walking into that place, the rudeness and the unfairness and how
bad.
unjust it was just like too much. It made my head blow off.